I'm excited to be here with you and to tell you a bit more about NURU and our new project here, this 1.3 megawatt site in Goma. So a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about today. I'll be first sharing a little about NURU's vision, history, business model, and then I'll give a little context about Congo and the neighborhood we're working in Goma, which is the provincial capital of North Kivu province. And I'll talk about a little bit about how we're addressing that particular context through our 1.3 megawatt solar-based mini grid, the impact that it's having, some of the challenges and lessons we've learned, and where we're going in the future. Okay, so NURU is, our vision is basically to provide 5 million delighted customers in Congo with world-class connectivity by 2024. NURU finances, builds, and operates off-grid, utility-scale, solar hybrid mini-grids with integrated smart meter technology and mobile money payment systems. And during the next 2 years, we plan to deploy and operate at least 39 megawatts of solar-based mini-grids, serving tens of thousands of people in Eastern Congo. Our achievements to date. So NURU first started out with the name Kivu Green Energy. We started in Beni, and our first project was to help deploy a 35 kilowatt pilot project at a university in Beni, North Kivu. And then we built on that experience to deploy the first commercial solar hybrid mini grid in Congo with this 55 kilowatt solar based mini grid in Beni and serving one neighborhood in particular. And then building on that experience, we were able to close Series A financing from investors, our investors, Electrify and Energy Access Ventures, to build this 1.3 megawatt peak solar hybrid mini grid in Goma, which we commissioned in February 2020. And we're currently serving about 600 customers, and we continue to add customers weekly. And we're looking to ultimately serve up to 2,000 households, businesses, and social institutions in Goma. And looking forward to the future here, we plan to serve a project pipeline of about 39 megawatts during the next few years, next 2 years by 2022, and hopefully by 2024, potentially up to 60 to 100 megawatts. Our target market and business model drives everything that we do. And so, like I said, we serve households, businesses, social institutions. We try to provide at least 60% of our energy towards households, small and medium enterprises, smaller organizations, and then 40% of our energy goes to large businesses, which serve as our anchoring clients. Basically, we sign power purchase agreements with these large businesses or letters of intent with them in order to make the project bankable, so we can take it to investors and demonstrate, hey, we have a strong interest here in this area, and we can make the project scalable, sustainable, and commercial. So as such, we often target and focus on urban zones, primarily powered by diesel gen sets, so we can displace that reliance on diesel gen sets, which are often very expensive, both to maintain. They often have to be replaced regularly, and they're of course a dirty, unclean source of energy. So we often are focusing in these urban zones where there is a lot of commercial activity and a lot of productive use and high energy demand, proximate to densely populated areas, often with kind of a mix of some people that have energy access, but often who do not or are underserved and have unmet demand. And so really, again, really focused on developing relationships with businesses to sign power purchase agreements and letters of intention to kind of set the stage to kind of be able to serve a wider population in those areas. We have a lot of partners that we are so grateful for, investors, donors, and here are some of them. I'll be talking about some of them a little bit further on, but just so grateful for these folks who support and make our work on the ground possible. a little bit about Congo's context. So Congo, it's a large country with a significant population there, but with many challenges as well. As you can see, there are over 100 armed groups operating in Congo, and millions of internally displaced persons and refugees, and millions in need of humanitarian assistance. So it's a very challenging business context. And as such, only 19% of the population has access to energy currently. And usually those that have access to energy usually rely on diesel gensets or wood or charcoal and kerosene, and diesel and wood and charcoal in particular are significant environmental stressors. And even those that do have access to energy often do not have sufficient or adequate or convenient or sustainable access to energy, even at a very low level. And so really energy poverty in Congo is really one consequence and symptom of Congo's complex context of fragility and insecurity. Despite these challenges, there is, according to the World Bank, a huge unmet demand and underserved demand in DRC. There's supposedly 5,000 gigawatt hours of unmet and underserved demand as of 2018, and that's expected to grow precipitously during the next few years. And the annual solar-based market is supposed to be around $921 million or more annually. So it's a huge business opportunity. It's a huge social need, and the potential for solar to step in and step up and meet these needs is huge. The mini grid market in Congo is very exciting, and it's very favorable because in 2014, the government privatized the sector, and it enables private companies like NURU to come in and propose cost-reflective tariffs so that we can make the work that we're doing sustainable and provide world-class electricity to people on the ground. It enables us to bring a return on investment and make it an exciting place for people to want to come in and support the work that we're doing on the ground. And so it's really an environment that is very conducive for solar-based mini grids. And yet there are still many things coming together. We're still learning how to work as we work with the government, how to do this well together. And so it's an exciting opportunity, a place where we can really try new things and work together to really provide the electricity that people need. And one of the other things too is we were able to get concessions at a provincial level. And so we can get these concessions that last up to 30 years to provide electricity in these various areas where we have concessions. And I'll be showing you a few of those areas shortly. Okay, now to Goma, North Kivu, which is where this 1.3 megawatt site is located, just a little bit for you to understand about the context. So Goma is located in North Kivu province on Lake Kivu at the DRC-Rwanda border. Goma was really transformed by a series of conflicts, in particular 1994 genocide and on, because that brought in a huge group of humanitarian and NGOs to address the situation, and UN peacekeeping operation MONUSCO. And Goma really grew then from a city of 300,000 to 1 to 2 million. So, and it has a current annual growth rate of about 10%. And it's now become, because of all these NGOs and people coming in to address the humanitarian development context in Congo, in Eastern Congo, it's become a place where a lot of people have sought refuge from conflicts in rural areas, but also because of the opportunities that are now there. And as a result, there has been some development and focus on energy in Goma, and yet it's highly inequitable. which I'll show in a moment. So 46% of Goma has some kind of limited energy access. And I should say limited, but the 46% just means, you know, people have some energy access, but it's often very insufficient. As you can see, 86% of Goma's businesses strongly agree that they lack reliable energy, and that prevents them from being able to grow and develop their business properly. So it's still a serious issue. And as you can see here, while 46% have some energy access, most people do not have it, and even those that do have it don't have adequate energy access. And it's also very unevenly distributed throughout the city. As you can see in the Northwest, which is the areas where NURU is working, there's 3%, 1%, 5% energy access rates. And yet, energy access, urban infrastructure is absolutely key for addressing Goma's ongoing insecurity, which is, despite being a hub for NGOs and humanitarian actors, it continues to have a lot of challenges with insecurity, especially in the neighborhoods where NURU is working. And so 73% of Goma's residents really say, you know, in order for things to get better in terms of security, we need things like lighting, public lighting, exterior lighting. And as you can see from this report from Rift Valley Institute, they say that quote, several dimensions of urban insecurity in Goma are similar to dynamics in other Congolese cities. But the big need here is to get access to urban infrastructure, and there needs to be greater investment in urban infrastructure, especially public lighting. And we'll show you how we're addressing that in a moment. Ndosho neighborhood, this is the neighborhood that we're operating in. It's a neighborhood with 80,000 plus people, 12,000 plus households, very ethnically diverse, a lot of formerly internally displaced persons and refugees, with 3% energy access rates, very poor, a lack of access to basic human services and needs, and 41% of Ndosho's residents report experiencing robbery during the past year. So there's chronic high crime and insecurity. 90% of Ndosho's inhabitants do not feel safe walking alone at night. So this is our response. It's this 1.3 megawatt mini grid, and it's been operational, like I said, since February 2020, and it's comprised of solar PV modules. We have Tesla power packs to provide battery storage, and we have a diesel genset to ensure reliability of the system. And we, as I mentioned, our objective is to provide electricity to about 40% of our electricity to commercial industrial enterprises or large organizations, and then 60% to residential and small and medium enterprises. And our target is to provide electricity to up to 2,000 customers. This is kind of the basic structure of of our system. And so we have the controller, the containerized controller area that monitors our systems and controls everything. We have the photovoltaic modules, we have the battery storage and the diesel genset, and we provide electricity to these clients. And here's some pictures of our site. In terms of how we got from A to B, or A to Z, I should say, it was definitely our first time growing from a 55 kilowatt to a 1.3 megawatt site was a huge undertaking and scaling, and so we learned a lot through this process. And the basic overview, though, of kind of how we got there is we conducted feasibility studies to understand the market need, the demand, to understand the social context, to figure out what's the environmental, social dimensions that we're going to be needing to address. We went through a regulatory approval process, working largely with the provincial government, but also with the national government as part of that process. And trying to engage the widest range of government offices as possible. NURU has really tries to dedicate a lot of resources and time and effort towards government relations, because that's absolutely key. And then we've worked with commercial, larger organizations and larger businesses to sign power purchase agreements, as you can see, and then we work on the design phase and deployment and the financing. A number of these things are simultaneous, as you can see. And then we were pretty excited when we commissioned in February 2020. The basic customer journey is, again, just really trying to understand our customer, what they need, what are their pain points, what would convenient, affordable energy look like for them, what is their willingness to pay, what's their ability to pay, their energy consumption needs, their ability to use mobile money, since we use mobile money payment systems. How can we understand our customer to help them use our services and achieve their goals through energy access? And one of the key things that we end up doing with them is we sign user agreements with our customers. They pay for a connection fee. We set up a smart meter. We connect their households. We provide energy, and we assess their customer delights. So NURU is all about ensuring the delight of its customers. This is just an example of one of the large businesses that we're providing electricity to. We started providing in June electricity to 3 telecom towers in Goma. And so we're currently providing electricity to these with 100% uptime. And we're very excited to be working with this power provider, which serves various telecom companies. One of our other key partners that I want to highlight is Energy Peace Partners. So Energy Peace Partners has developed this Peace Renewable Energy Credit, and NURU has become the first certified company to sell these Peace Renewable Energy Credits. And PRECs, for short, PRECs basically are a renewable energy certificate with peace building co-benefits or social co-benefits. And so one of the key ways that we partnered with Energy Peace Partners was to sell these renewable energy credits to a large Fortune 100 company, who then provided us with the funding to build streetlights, which you can see here. And this is one of the signatures, signature impact that we have through this project. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. But through this project, we're providing over 600 clients with energy access right now. NURU is currently employing 60 people, so we're providing jobs both at our plant at NURU, but also in the community. We have these 35 streetlights, and these streetlights are playing a huge role because the neighborhood currently where we're based in, as I've said, people don't feel safe walking alone at night. They don't feel safe in general. There's a lot of robbery. And so having these streetlights has been significant for enhancing neighborhood security and road safety. It gives people more hours to work and to run errands later in the evening as well. Because we've been committed to providing electricity to existing businesses in these communities as well, it's also reduced CO2 emissions because it's displaced their dependence on diesel gensets. And then we've seen a lot of small and medium enterprises develop or invest in their business further because now they have access to reliable electricity supply. And households, for example, one of the ways they're benefiting is by having access to light at night, which enables them to study and so on. Some of the challenges that we're facing and some of the lessons that we've been learning this year, there's really in Congo a nascent regulatory environment, so there's a lot of different opportunities for engaging the government, to working with them to try to improve the regulatory environment, to streamline processes. And that's been a challenge and an opportunity for us to engage in. And one of the lessons for us has been really to invest in those relationships with government and community members. And then there's burgeoning energy sector capacity. So we've had to develop a lot of capacity in-house and learning as we go because there isn't there hasn't been a lot of human resource development in energy sector. So that's been something we've been having to develop ourselves. COVID-19, like I said, we launched in February 2020, and then COVID hit. Rwanda shut its borders with Congo, and that just put a lot of pressure on the business and the communities in Goma. So those are just some of the challenges that we faced, and how we've navigated that is by putting a lot of resources into improving our processes for managing project timelines, developing relationships with different people in the community, whether government or NGOs or civil society. That has been absolutely key for us. And so, as you can see, I think the streetlights in particular have been a way of demonstrating we're here for the community, we care about the community, and I think the streetlights have been a great example of something where it's business forward social impact, where it's providing a service to people in the community that want streetlights, and it's also developing and building social capital in these communities for us. And just one quick look forward real quick. We recently won a grant, Hope and Conflict Humanitarian Grand Challenge, which is hosted and organized by USAID, the UK government, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, with support from Grand Challenges Canada. And we're going to be using this grant to expand the work that we've started in Ndosho and move into a few other neighborhoods adjacent to Goma, to Ndosho, where there's a lot of need for energy, but also very similar insecurity dynamics and low income and lack of access to basic human services. So that's a little bit about what we're doing, and I look forward to hearing your questions later on. Thank you so much. Over back to you, Renisha.